police in Kenya have fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse small groups of protesters who tried to gather in Nairobi a day after the president scrapped his finance bill. There's a heavy security presence in the capital, with the army deploying to support the police. Military vehicles have been seen driving around and blocking access to the presidential residence, which some protesters had vowed to occupy. Businesses in the city centre have remained shut. Correspondents say the youth-led movement is divided on how far to carry the demonstrations after President Ruto ceded to their demand to drop the tax bill. Some members have stayed away, while others have pressed on, calling for Mr. Ruto's resignation. Well, for the very latest, let's cross over to Kenya now and speak with the global risk analyst Chris Itieno, who joins me on the line from Nairobi. Mr. Itieno, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So what's the latest from the streets of Nairobi in terms of the protests? I mean, what's happening today? Are things remaining pretty tense?
Thanks very much for having me. Yes, things are pretty tense. I have a number of key highlights for you. Police are still killing unarmed protesters. Hundreds have been injured with bullet wounds. Government key buildings have been destroyed. We've deployed our Kenya Defense Forces. President returns bill back to Parliament. Religious leaders have demanded for withdrawal of Finance Bill 2024. And the youth had declared that today would be a mourning day. We still see a number of our youths in the streets, the same complaints, the same dissatisfaction, the same disgruntlement. And a lot of things are still going on in my country for now.
So, I mean, what do you think are the chances of quelling that opposition on the streets soon?
We cannot tell the exact date because we still find our youthful population very determined to proceed on with their course. They are on track on on achieving what they are intended to do. They had first of all put up posters saying Occupy Parliament. They were successful in that. The next was Occupy State House. That is still ongoing. A lot of skirmishes across the country, all major towns, and there's still a lot of intervention here and there. The president did not assent to the bill, returned it back to Parliament, but the population have still said that is not enough. They want the whole of this bill to be taken away and other critical measures be given, which has not been forthcoming from the government. So our youth population are still holding their position. They are going to go on with this strike. And the most challenging thing is that they have no leadership in them. We have not seen a structure of leadership in them. They're still very well organized and delivering on what they promised to deliver. And they're still pursuing their intentions to the fullest with very, very big and bulging numbers, still taking to the streets of our Republic of Kenya.
Yes, but we're told that the numbers of people who are actually out on the streets is considerably less than what we saw yesterday.
We cannot say it's less. From where I see it from, where we are seeing these numbers growing by the day. And most captivating, most catching thing is that these numbers have gone even to the government strongholds. We're seeing very large numbers in government strongholds, and that does not really speak in terms of political alienations or tribal alienations. We are talking about an issue-based approach by this young generation. They have put conditions. They have put conditions on what they actually want to be done by this government. And this can be summarized in two. We have economical and financial reforms, and we have governance and social reforms that they require to be done. And we are seeing quite a number of these ones, which are being captured in the 2024 finance bill. And that is making everyone restless. Another quite critical thing in this, we are seeing that these youngsters have used modern technology, for example, artificial intelligence, to translate this finance bill 2024 into the various languages in my country. And we are saying every citizen in this country who has access to a smartphone is able to get the ideas that this generation or this population wants to be gotten out. And that is really worrying us quite a lot.
So, I mean, what are the options for the government now amid all this public pressure?
The government has quite a number of options, but we can say from onset they seem to be limited. Number one, this youth population that is going on rampage in the country have no structured leadership. You would say, let's talk to somebody, but you would not find who that person you want to speak to is. None of them is there. But nevertheless, despite lack of a leadership structure and a consultative structure amongst them, we're still seeing that they're achieving objectives, a lot of advertisement going on. So we can basically say that they're using digital activism to forward and perpetuate what they plan to do. And this is being achieved very well. Now, for example, take an example, what is happening in the street. You find that if they find anybody getting involved in criminal activity that involves theft of mobile phones from the protesters, then they take that person as not one of them. And there's very punitive measure taken against that person, basically telling us that their mode of communication and the way they organize themselves is through mobile digital activism, and that is spreading very, very fast across the whole Republic of Kenya. If you look at our demographics in terms of population, you find that this youth population, Generation Z, they're about 65% of our national population. We are about 5 million, 50 million in population. And 65% of that is a huge number to talk about. So they need to be listened to by the government. The government is not listening to them, and they don't seem to have a structure of how they want to approach this. We have a long-term problem of how we resolve our own country problems. And they should not make this finance bill as something really urgent, because the finance bill should be an amendment to another finance bill. We already have a finance bill in place. So they should sit back and look at what is this that the population is complaining about, and what other source of income or revenue streams we can use to raise the 365 trillion shillings that we want to raise to be able to supplement or support the budget of the whole republic. So this is what we are saying. A lot of things are not working very well on this time for the side of the government. The president ceded to their cause, but you still see these guys on the street. There's also an element of a lack of trust. During the campaign times, a lot of promises were made, but we are not seeing any of those ones being achieved for now. So this is agitating a lot of this youth population, right? And the taxes that are being put in this finance bill are the ones that are stopping the youth population from being entrepreneurs or doing business or creating jobs for themselves. For example, the taxes that we're seeing on digital platforms, not favoring them at all. So unless something is done very, very fast, limited for now, we don't see these guys going down.
And of course, Mr. Itieno, you are a global risk analyst. In light of the things you've told us and the continuing pressure, how do you assess the risk for President Ruto going forward? Because, I mean, the protesters are now calling for him to step down.
What I can say, I believe that the president and his advisors are working overtime, they're on overdrive to try and find as much all the ways that they can quell this. And I know one way or the other solution is going to be found. But the faster they move, the better it is for the Republic of Kenya. These youth, like I'm just saying, all they need is somebody to talk to. They should be given a listening ear. And these other tactics that are being used by our policemen of abductions, extrajudicial killing, or in the use of excess force, we should discourage from using that and find a way to sit down with these people and show them apathy, that we are listening to them and that we are committed to doing as much as we can to ensure that we bring them on the table and we are taking their considerations, their needs into our future, into our planning, and make the business environment of this country as easy as is possible by, for example, lowering production costs and removing taxes that are being considered punitive by the citizens of this nation. That could be an option that we can explore as a country and be able to mitigate this risk and reduce that as low as is reasonably possible. Also, the president has many other options. For example, to reassure this youthful population that something is being done, he has the option of dissolving the government. Once he dissolves that and removes the finance bill, then that could communicate something different to the population, that yes, we are doing something to really take what you need into consideration, and that should lower the temperatures and provide a platform where other options can be explored in that time span of all these things happening at the same time. So there are options, and we can do them, and we can achieve them, and our country can go back to that stability and unity that we've always enjoyed as a Republic of Kenya.
And just very briefly, Mr. Itieno, we appreciate the time you've given us. I mean, at last count, 23 people had died, but we know that there were a lot of people who were seriously injured. And I'm wondering whether that death toll is rising still.
I could say the number of injuries is high, And why am I saying this? We have so many hospitals in the Republic of Kenya, government hospitals and private hospitals. And the counts are coming from all these hospitals which have been placed on high emergency status because of what is happening in the country. I do believe there's some other private hospitals handling the injuries, handling extreme injuries, handling disabilities that have come from this, and they're not giving the numbers up for counting. I believe the numbers are coming from government healthcare institutions, and that is what we are seeing. But if you look at the videos that are being televised, that are spreading in social media, and all these social communication platforms, we can see quite a number of people getting injured, but that number could not be tallying with what you already have. So we could say that the 23 persons pronounced dead are those persons who have been attended at government hospitals.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate your joining us and bringing us up to date with what's happening in Kenya. Chris Itieno is a global risk analyst. He was talking to me on the line there from Nairobi.